In this video, we'll be going over squaring decimal side lengths. So before we get started, what is squaring a number? Squaring uses the side of a square to find the area. And we know that the area of a rectangle is going to be base times height. So how can I use that to find the area of this square here? Well, one unique property of squares is the base and the height are going to be the exact same length. So if this has a height 6, I know that the base is also going to be 6. And so to find the area, I need to take base times height, or I need to take 6 times 6. When I take a number and multiply with itself, what math property are we using? And so taking a number and multiplying with itself, or using repeated multiplication, that is using exponents. So this can be called 6 with an exponent of 2, where this 2 is called the second power. So 6 to the second power, or 6 times 6, that's going to be 36. So when I take a number and multiply with itself, that's the same thing I use when I find the area of a square. So sometimes you might see 6 to the second power be called 6 squared. Let's go with one more example problem of squaring a number. I want to find the area of a square whose side length is 4. So if I know that the height is 4, I know that the base also has to be 4. So to find the area, I need to take 4 times 4. Or another way of stating this question is, what is 4 squared? And so 4 squared, or 4 times 4, that's going to be 16. One way I can visualize that is by breaking up this square here. If it has a height of 4, I can break that into 4 parts. And if it has a base of 4, I can break that into 4 parts. And I can see that the area of the square is going to be 16 because there are 16 square units inside of it. Now let's go over an area problem where the size of the square is not going to be a whole number, it's going to be a decimal. So how are we going to find the area of a square whose base and height are going to be 2.5? 2.5. Just like in the previous problem, I can partition this side length into its whole number parts and its decimal part. So here, I can split this up as 2 and 0.5 and 2 plus 0.5. And if I find the areas of each of these parts, I can find the area of the whole square. So breaking it up, I know this is a square that's 2 by 2. So 2 times 2 is going to be an area of 4. This rectangle has a height 2 and a base 0.5. So I know that 2 times 5 is going to be 10. And since there's a decimal, I add 1 decimal right here. For the bottom rectangle, I see this has a base 2 and height 0.5. So 2 times 5 is going to be 10. And since there's a decimal, I'm going to add a decimal right here. And then finally, 0.5 times 0.5, I know that 5 times 5 is going to be 25. And including the 2 decimals, this is going to be 0.25. So adding up all the parts, I can find the area of the whole square. So 4 plus 1.0 plus 1.0 plus 0.25. Adding up each of these parts, I know that the whole area is going to be 5, 2, 4 plus 1 plus 1, that's going to be 6. So the area of the square is going to be 6.25. Let's go over another example problem. How can I find the area of a square whose side lengths are going to be a decimal 7.2? So I know that this side is going to be 7.2 and this side is going to be 7.2. I can take these two sides and split them up using this whole number part and this decimal parts. So this can be split up as 7 plus 0.2, and this can be split up as 7 plus 0.2. So finding the areas of each of these parts, I can find the area of the whole square. So 7 times 7, that's going to be an area of 49. The area of this rectangle here is going to be 7 times 0.2. I know that 7 times 2 is going to be 14. And since there's a decimal, this is going to be 1.4. Down here, this also has a rectangle with side 7 and length 0.2. So that's going to be 1.4 as well. And I know that 0.2 times 0.2, 2 times 2 is going to be 4. And using 2 decimals, that's going to be 0.04. So adding up all these parts, 49 plus 1.4 plus 1.4 plus 0.04. Adding up all these points, I have 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. 9 plus 1 plus 1, that's going to be 11, carry the 1. And then 4 plus 1 is going to be 5. So the area of this square is going to be 51.84. Right? Let's go over a third example problem. How can I find the area of a square whose side length is going to be a decimal 3.8? So I can take the sides of these squares, 3.8 and 3.8, and I can split it up using its whole number part and decimal part. So I can split 3.8 to 3 plus 0.8, 3 plus 0.8, and break it up along these lines here. And so if I find the area of each of these rectangles, I can find the area of the whole square. So 3 times 3, that's going to be an area of 9. 3 times 0.8, well, I know that 3 times 8 is going to be 24. And with one decimal, that's going to be 2.4. 3 times 0.8 again, that's going to be the exact same area of 2.4. And then finally, 0.8 times 0.8, that's going to be, I know that 8 times 8 is 64. And when I have 2 decimals, I need to move it 2 decimal places right here. So adding up all the parts, I have 9 plus 2.4 plus 2.4 plus 0.64. So adding up all the parts, I have 4. 6 plus 4 is 10, plus 4 is 14, carry the 1. 9 plus 1 is 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So the area of this square is going to be 14.44. Finally, let's go over our last problem, finding the area of a square whose side is a decimal. I want to find the area of a square whose side is 5.9 by 5.9. So instead of partitioning the square, let's solve this using our multiplication. So I want to figure out what is 5.9 times 5.9. So first, I'm going to start out with this 0.9. And so 0.9 times 9 is going to be 81, carry 2 decimal places. Okay. Now I'm going to do 9 times 5. And so 9 times 5 is going to be 45. And since this is a decimal, it's going to be 4.5. Over here, I'm going to do 5 times 9. And so 5 times 9 is also going to be 45. But with this decimal, it's going to be 4.5. And then finally, 5 times 5, that's going to be 25. So adding up all these parts, I have 1. 5 plus 5 is 10. 10 plus 8 is 18, carry the 1. Here I have 5, 10, 14, carry the 1, and 3. So I have 34.81. And you guys can see that each of these numbers I multiplied, 0.81, 4.5, 4.5, and 25. These are segments of my square. This is the 25, 4.5, 4.5, and 0.81. Okay. So in conclusion, if I want to find the area of a square whose side lengths are decimals, I can partition the side length into its whole number parts and its decimal parts.